Hello, world. This is Talkin Lab, and we have our special guest. Hello there, Dan. I'm glad to have you on our show.
Well, Lamar, it's good that we finally connected.
Yeah,
I know we've had a few issues.
well,
Technology. I'm a little bit of a prehistoric creature, and it befungles my mind for most part. But I'm glad it works when it's supposed to.
yeah. When I used to on my other TV station, I put in 20 years ago, and it was digital, but it's got big cameras, got all that big cable running across the floor. But nowadays, we just got a little cable, and the camera's HD, and you know,
everything is almost basically wireless to it connections. So who's your mascot that you have there with you?
Oh, that's Pumpkin. He's one of those Walmart dogs. I was coming out of Walmart, and this little girl had him, and he was that little bitty, and I said, what you got there? And she showed me, said, I want to sell him. I don't have no home for him, so I'll give her $20 for him. And he's been growing long ever since then. He can't stand to be away from me. He has to be with me.
But the name Pumpkin, I'm kind of curious about that. Did you have to buy him in the month of October? I'm just curious where the name came from.
Yeah, he sits in my lap when I get my teeth clean. He sits in my lap when I get my hairstyle. He goes with me to the grocery store. And where'd I go? He goes. And
he's your shadow.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the hospital a couple of days. You're like, where'd himself to death? But anyway, what's going on with you?
Well, I mean, I live a crazy life. I'm not certain where you want to start this with. I mean, I've been an amateur wrestler. I've been a professional wrestler. I've been a cage fighter, freestyle wrestler, Greco-Roman wrestler, a submission grappler, gi work, non-gi work. I work with law enforcement, corrections, air marshal, border patrol, military, master of many things, Yeah,
that's what Zeke was telling me. You was a master of a lot of things.
Yeah, I just been involved. I'll simply start off with saying that athletics was my way to get an education paid for myself. So I was one of those high school athletes that chose a sport, and my sport was wrestling, and I was able to utilize wrestling as a means to get an education paid for. And not only did I get a great education, but I worked at Arizona State University for 5 years on top of that as an assistant, as a coach, before taking a job at Michigan State. But have traveled, literally I've traveled the entire United States. I've done something in every single state in the U.S., and it's not easy to get to Alaska or Hawaii, but I've been to both those states a couple of times on top of all that. So, and pretty near every country that has ever had a wrestling program, and some countries that don't even exist anymore, like East Germany. I've been to East Germany a couple of different times when Germany used to be split between East and West to actually see the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain. So, when people talk about history, yeah, I've seen history. I've been a part of history. So, yeah.
Yeah, you ever worked with Steven Seagal or Chuck Norris?
Well, no. I mean, not in the, I know who they are. I've never met either one of them, but I know who they are, and I've watched some of their different movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you've done movies.
I like a lot of the little cliches that they have about, like Chuck Norris. It's kind of like going, there's all kinds of like comical things. It'll be like, when Chuck Norris goes to bed, he just stares at the light to turn it off or something like that. just little comical one-liners like that.
I understand Zeke told me you're doing a movie or something. Some kind of movie.
I've actually, just like what you just got done saying, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a number of different movie projects over the years, and there's a couple more projects that are coming up after the first of year. And probably the best known movie that I was ever in was the movie called Rudy. It was based upon Notre Dame football, and it actually was based on a real story of an individual that just his whole goal was simply just to play football at Notre Dame, but he wasn't exactly gifted with the size and the ability, and he had to go through a lot of trial and tribulations, but he finally got in and he played. He got his 5 minutes of fame and ended up even getting a tackle. So it was actually a kind of a the gentleman's name was Rudy. I'm probably not going to pronounce the last name. Rudy Rudiger is what his name was, and it was like I said, that was the first time I ever met the legendary NFL Hall of Famer Jim Brown, because he was the football coordinator as well on that. So then I ended up meeting Jim later at the Ultimate Fighting Championships, and at one of my very first times ever being at the UFC. Both him, Jeff Blatnick, and a couple of the other play-by-play college commentators, they were just kind of sitting around and just ask us a few questions, just so that they could make a few notes, put them down on paper, so that when they're calling the play-by-play, maybe they can, add some little trivial type of stories and stuff like that to line. And so when Jim Brown was asking me some questions about that, I simply said, well, Mr. Brown, you'll never remember me, but I was one of the football players way back when you were down in South Bend, Indiana for 6 or 8 weeks shooting the movie Rudy. And it just, his eyes kind of just lit up on that, because, I mean, there was probably, I'll say, I don't know, 50, 60 people there. So would he remember me? No, they're just all these big, goony looking players with all football helmets and shoulder pads on. So one guy just looked like the rest of them. So
now, didn't he just pass away, Jim Brown?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch his movies, and you done some like classic movies. You was in some classic movies, or
you talking about Jim Brown?
Yeah, no. I mean, didn't you do some classic movies and that's out today or something?
No, I mean, most of them would be something like martial arts type of movies, or some type of fighting type of things. I mean, I think, well, again, I'm just going to do a quick guesstimation, maybe about a dozen different films, but I've even been part of some stuff, even like my freshman year at Arizona State. They were just doing some films about athletes, that had had incredible seasons. Like my final 2 years in high school, I accomplished some things that throughout basically my high school career, I set and held 8 national records simultaneously, which was a national record because no other wrestler had held that many national titles simultaneously. So I was a 185 pounder when I wrestled collegiately. When I wrestled folk style, which is what we do in our junior high school, and on a collegiate basis. And then I also did, in my spring and summer months, I also did freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, which are the two styles that are competed at the Olympic Games and at the World Championships. So I made myself as diversified as possible, because I knew that when my high school career would come to an end, I would jump into college. College wrestling is a little bit different there yet. I would, once those 4 or 5 years, in case you redshirt a year, once those 4 or 5 years are finished, I go, now my collegiate career, my folk style career really has come to an end. If I want to represent the United States and go really against the big boys in the Olympic Games or at the World Cup, World Championships, that would be only in the two styles of either freestyle wrestling or Greco-Roman. The biggest difference is, freestyle wrestling looks a lot like folk style and collegiate style. Greco-Roman is from the waist on up. You can't take single legs. You can't take double legs. You can't grab their legs really whatsoever. Greco-Roman wrestling is all from the waist up, and that's where you see these big headlocks, body locks, a lot of pummeling. But if you had, say, the Olympic freestyle team on one side of the room and you had the Olympic Greco-Roman team on the other side, everybody would be looking over here at these Greco-Roman guys, because they look like Neanderthals. They've got great big old traps on their neck. They've got big, thick necks, and they've got Cro-Magnon ridges across their forehead because they're headbutting all the time. And they got the worst looking cauliflower ears that you will ever see, because most international wrestling countries, they don't wear headgear at all. Only the United States, and again, our junior high, our kids wrestling, junior high, high school, and on a collegiate level, do we wrestle with headgear. And I always tell people, look at these 2 ears. You don't see cauliflower ears at all, because I kept thinking, well, sooner or later my career comes to an end. I don't want to be looking like Bela Lugosi here. And the only kind of movie roles I'll have is like for Frankenstein or freak movies. I wanted to know that I could do other types of roles as well.
Yeah, what got you started in wrestling anyway?
Yeah.
That's what, wrestling. When you was in school, you got the desire to do wrestling. I mean, all that stuff.
Again, I love football. Don't get me wrong. I love football way more than I did wrestling. But in football, you have to rely on 10 other people to do their job right along with your job. So there's 11 men that's on that field. Everyone's got to do their job. So you may do everything within your power in your area. But if someone else misses the block, misses the tackle, you now lose as a team. The definition of amateur wrestling, it's a team sport based upon individual performances. The team can lose, and I can still go on, because on an individual basis, they'll have a team championship, and then there's individual championships that take place simultaneously. So as much as I love the sport of football, when I finally graduated high school, I had a number of different collegiate offers to go and play football, but I simply knew that if I really wanted to cut a path for myself, I chose the sport of wrestling. So
I tried football one time when I was a kid, going to school, and I broke my nose, and that was it. I don't know part of that.
Really? I mean, you broke your nose with the football helmet on? Did the helmet come down and hit the ridge or something? Or?
No, I run into a guy face first. He had his head down, and I run into him, and it didn't break it. It cracked my nose. I said, I don't know this.
No, I mean, football is one of those kind of, again, it's just like wrestling, where you're imposing your will. And then on the football field, I was like a kamikaze. I loved it. I was like, I remember, the shoulder pads, hitting people so many times that my shoulder pads were disintegrating. I actually had to get pulled off the field and had to take one of my other players' shoulder pads just to put them on, because mine were falling all apart. And I ended up through a couple of different tackles, my helmet basically split. So I had to try to find another helmet to replace on yet another game. So, I mean, I love football. Hopefully I didn't take too much brain damage in the process of my career.
There's a lot of people around here that loves that football. And down Florida, Miami, a lot of friends I have.
Sure. Well, you got beautiful weather to where it's all the time. Like Arizona, where I'm at right now, because I split my time between Arizona and Michigan. Arizona in the springtime, that's when all the baseball teams are out here in the state of Arizona, because they got so many great facilities that they'll have all these different major league teams that will be out here doing their spring training.
Now, baseball, I work with John Smoltz raising money for cancer, him and Jeff Foxworthy. But John's kind of a weird guy. He's quiet. Yeah, he don't say too much when I'm around him anyway.
Yeah, but there was a movie with Will Ferrell, where basically I think he played on, it was either 6 or 8 different teams, like all in the same day. He was playing on all these different teams but he kept getting fired. Because Will Ferrell just always does these comedy type of things. So he'd be on one team, he'd get fired, and then he's being rushed by car over to this other game, and he gets in for yet a few more plays, and he gets fired here and fired there. So, I mean, it was actually a pretty comical movie with Will Ferrell. And I guess I enjoy comedy, because I live kind of a very, real type of life, that I like that comedic type of outlet, so that I can have a few little chuckle yucks, to help, balance out life.
Yeah, we had a special guest one. He's his name is Steve something. I can't remember his name. I'm like sometimes I forget and then I'll remember. But I had a special guest. He worked with the comedians and trained comedians. I was just trying to think of his name right. Steve North. Yeah, Steve North. That's who it was. He done a show with us. It was a great show, nice guy, and he was telling us about comedy and how that it takes people with it in them, and you can't just be a comedian all the time. You gotta have it in you, basically.
Well, yeah, no, you're exactly right. Again, those are gifts. All the different people that are, whether you be a talk show host, whether you be a football player, whether you be a comedian. I mean, there's a certain skill set that you have to have for all types of things. I don't know if you're seeing. I'm kind of changing the subject for a moment, but like over my shoulder, you see the crutches in the back, and that's one of the reasons being out here in Arizona, and is that I'm basically 25 days post surgery of having a total hip replacement. So, and I asked them after just even the first session, and then knowing that it's going to be a couple of days before I see them again, it's like going, well, do you folks care if I repeat the exact same thing at home, or I can go to my local gym and I can replicate a lot of the exact same exercises so that I'm getting more repetition, more exercise. I'll still get proper rest and stuff like that because I want to heal up as quickly as I possibly can. I want to go back to re-engage in my life of traveling and speaking and conducting, seminars because I really enjoy that and I make a difference. So I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, Menzies been working on that, getting you a place to do a seminar on martial arts. We've been working on that for you.
Yeah, we'll get you can again just reach out to various junior high wrestling programs, high school wrestling programs, junior college wrestling programs, but then freestyle Greco-Roman. But then if there's a little submission grappling place nearby, in or around the area, whether it be gi work, non-gi work, I work with kids, I work with adults, and but I teach totally differently between kids and adults because for kids, I'm teaching more of the grappling, athletic ability, and a lot more type of fun type of stuff with them. Where the adults, they want a little bit more of the serious type of techniques of choke holds and more pain inflicted type of moves. I'll show that to adults. I don't want to show that to kids because I want kids to be kids, have fun, and just be the best athlete that they possibly can be.
Yeah, there's a small one down the road here that I think, but I was wanting to get you one that's kind of big, big gym where you could, spread out, where you'd have different people and maybe let everybody know you're going to be there and all that. That's what we
hopefully want. Just by the airing of the show here, I mean, it'll show that there's an interest for me to come on in, for them to reach out to you guys directly, or they can reach out to me directly at simply my email address, dan@dansevern.com. About as easy as it gets, dan@dansevern.com. And to me, if they're interested of learning more of what does it take to host a Dan Severn clinic or Dan Severn just speaking engagement, and I always tell people, especially on the weekends, that I'm capable of doing multiple seminars, not just one, but I can teach one seminar at one location in early in the morning. By the afternoon, I could be at a different location teaching another one. By later that night, especially on a Saturday night, there is a UFC event that it takes place every single Saturday night. So again, it's kind of like I could be at another location at a local sports bar or something like that, and be there doing an appearance, but then also talking about the mindset of some of these athletes, what they're going through as the matches are progressing. Because as a competitor, you can see who's breaking psychologically, who's scoring points, whether they be kicks, punches, knees, elbows, but then, how someone's able to all of a sudden rally back.
Yeah, I talked to quite a few. I talked to one guy, and he was kind of, well, maybe not. And then I think we got someone already for the spring. And I mean, I just hadn't had time. See, Zeke does most of that stuff. See, and he gets in touch
again,
with
that's where what I'm hoping is that you'll be able to bring some of your equipment right over to the location when I'm in town, so that now we're actually at the location and you can talk to some of the people that are actually on the mats doing some of these techniques, stuff like that. And if Zeke or you or anyone else that's with your staff want to come out there and actually feel a couple of the techniques to see the merits of them, to realize, because I always tell people, I try to show people the principles of how to use their body weight, but then use the biggest, strongest muscles on their body, the legs. Everyone's got weight, and everyone basically has leg muscle. So I try to show them the most simplest concepts that they understand, and they're blown away. I'm a good teacher. It's one of my gifts. Is I'm good at seeing where someone is at and being able to help raise their ability from wherever they're starting from.
What I was going to ask you too. You ever work with Hulk Hogan?
Nope. I mean, I know who you're talking about, obviously, but I've never had the opportunity to meet him. He was working with Vince McMahon and stuff like that well before I ever came along. I was at the time that I came along with Vince. I mean, well, again, I'll bring a couple of things together. The biggest sports merger in history just took place, just like, within the last few weeks, where you now have WWE and UFC underneath the same sports umbrella. Yeah. And I always tell people that, I ask them a question. I go, who was the first athlete to be both a professional wrestler and a mixed martial artist? This guy. No. So I would tell people that I was the very first amateur wrestler that ever entered the octagon cage. And now when you look at the skill set of champions based upon their original background, because now each athlete, they came from different backgrounds. They might have been a jiu-jitsu guy. They might have been a wrestler. They might have been a boxer, kickboxer, Muay Thai, karate, kung fu, but they realized they need a few other skill sets to go along there with it. But I represent the sport of wrestling, and right now the sport of wrestling has the most champions across the board, regardless of weight class, than any other discipline. So again, it just I always say that it warms my heart to know that I was that first wrestler, and I helped open the floodgates to all the amateur wrestlers that now have entered into it and have done very, very well for themselves.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is a wrestler come on our show? He's a local wrestler.
Professional wrestler, or are we talking about wrestlers and professional wrestlers, or are we talking about amateur wrestlers? What you do in high schools and that?
Yeah, well, he's around and about a lot of different places, and he done a show with us, and
sorry about that. The dog.
Don't worry about it. Happened to me too. Happened to me. Happens to me. Hey, it happens. They hear something they can't, and
can't contain his excitement at times.
Yeah, I understand. I was doing that show with that comedian professional I was telling you about. He started barking. He heard something outside. I got quite a few shows coming up with a lot of different people. If they come on, if they don't cancel or change it or something like that, and I try to keep him quiet, but cats, dogs, squirrels, and stuff like that, he can't resist barking.
Oh, it's the same way. It's kind of like the moment that dog's name is Milo. The moment he sees a squirrel or something like that, I mean, he's gone. He's gone. His mind just.
Yeah, he'd jump on a Rockwell. He's an idiot, boy, when it comes to that. I think that's a Chihuahua. They call him a deer-head Chihuahua. That's what they call him.
A deer-head Chihuahua.
Yeah, because he looks like he looks like a deer.
Oh yeah, actually, like kind of like a little fawn there in the face.
Yeah. But Paul Lee was the one that I was doing the show with. Do you know
Okay.
who Paul Lee is?
You're actually talking about he's a promoter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like he does a lot of promotion too. But he
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
a
No,
show.
no,
He done
yeah.
a show with us. Yeah.
Yep. No, Paul Lee. Yeah. He worked with ECW for quite a bit. He was
Yeah.
the promoter for that. I mean, where they do a lot more extreme type of professionals, and that's where you see more people climbing up on ladders, doing these little moonsaults and stuff like that onto. They'll have their opponent on a table, and then they'll climb up a ladder and jump off the ladder, and then hit their opponent on top of this table, breaking the table. They do a lot of, I'll just say, a lot more higher risk type of maneuvers that I would never do.
Yeah. I don't do anything that'll get me hurt anymore. I'm too old.
Yeah, no, I understand, especially going through this little surgery and stuff like that. And, it's kind of set me back for a little bit. It's kind of like going, gotta take care of myself a little bit better now. I'm getting a new hip put in here at that 65. Hopefully that's a 100,000-mile oil change. I should be good for another 65 years. That's what I'm banking on.
Yeah. Well, I got the hip problems, but I used to do a lot of tree climbing, top trees, asphalt. I mean, I've done it all, and I got to mess around with country music, and then they told me, "Oh, you can get in movies, you can do this," but I'm a terrible actor. I couldn't remember my scripts to save my life. I tried out with Patrick Swayze on that Next to Kin, and of course I didn't get. They picked the other guy, the guy taken, the guy, I can't think of his name, but anyway, picked him over me, and he's English. And I'm a hillbilly, he was English. And
I could definitely see where you could be definitely typecast into because you got that kind of like that Southern type of draw there to you on your accent, stuff like that. So I could see you easily being involved into a movie like what you just said with Patrick Swayze very easily.
Yeah. Do you know Buddy Lee in Nashville?
No.
No. Well, he was.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, he used to be a wrestler, but and
okay.
Yeah, but he was a wrestler too. That's what I was getting at. He used to be a wrestler, but I see way back there that he is a wrestler. And
again, probably the oldest vintage of wrestlers at Lou Thesz, one of the original NWA champions with NWA holders, Billy Robinson. Those were two of the classic. But then I ended up getting the chance to get to know the Funk brothers, Terry Funk, and then his older brother Dory.
Fargo, you remember what was his name? Fargo. It seemed like his name was Fargo, but I can't. See, there used to be a guy, Harry Thornton. You ever heard of Harry Thornton? He used to.
I'm not sure if that was his real name or if that was his stage name, because I mean, a lot of people was kind of like mine was like Dan the Beef Severn is what I always tell people. I got that little moniker, but it was given to me by the legendary NFL football player Jim Brown. Because I mean, the very first UFC event I ever went to, I mean, I had already worked for 2 different universities at that time. So when I simply knew when you show up to a certain social type function, put on a sports jacket, tie, and I wore glasses. So, but I look like somebody's manager is what I look like. And I had Al Snow, the professional Al Snow, that goes out with his mannequin's head and stuff like that. And Al Snow, everybody thought that Al Snow was me, and I was the manager to Dan Severn, him, until they made the announcement to have all the athletes, because we're talking about UFC number 4 was my very first time ever being involved in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and that's when they would do the 8-man tournament. So in one night, over the course of basically it was a 2-hour show. You had to fight and defeat 3 men because women weren't competing early on. They didn't start competing until I think early 90s. And, so it was very tough because they didn't find very many people to be resilient enough to weather the storm 3 times in a night. Mm-hmm. And that's where you have to be careful. You have to pace yourself because you can't risk, because that was back in the days of bare knuckle action. And if you punch someone and you might win the match, you might knock them out, something like that, but you could break your hand. And now you have to face opponent number 2 with a broken hand, and you'll be hindered by that. So you had to be a lot more smarter about how how would you technically or tactfully dispose of 3 opponents in the same night. And that's one of the records that I hold for dispatching of 3 men in the shortest time they had ever seen, but then also being in the octagon cage for the longest time ever. I was in the octagon cage for just over 1 hour. Now, when you think about bare knuckled, only 2 rules you had was no biting, no eye gouging. That's the only 2 things you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
remember all that.
And this was in Denver, Colorado, mile-high elevation. So your cardiovascular, you better have something in that tank there because you're in mile-high elevation on top of that. So that's, again, those are 2 of my proud accomplishments are, for UFC number 5, the dismantling of 3 men in the shortest time, but then at the ultimate, where they were bringing back the cream of the crop, various champions and runner-ups, and I was in the cage just over 1 hour. So those are just 2 of the things, and I'm the only what they call a Triple Crown champion to have won a normal 8-man tournament, one of their super tournaments, and then they now it's all just individual events. So I'm the only one that has ever won all 3 categories.
I was going to, Zeke was telling me you was shooting some movies and doing some stuff like that. What's the movies about?
Well, I've got, there's 2 movies I'm being considered for, but they had to put my filming back because of my surgery. One of the movies is it's called, I think it's called Detective Series. So it's just all based upon, like this, I'll say it's like just a detective series where it's ongoing. And they're going to have me playing like the role of like some type of a small town city chief or something like that is all it's really going to be. So, they're looking at the thing is I'll have darker hair at that time. I mean, it's people that when they see me with my gray hair now, they're taken back by it, and the gray mustache, the gray hair. But I always tell them that because they'll see all of these other pictures of me, and they see like basically really dark, almost black type of hair and black eyebrows, black mustache. I go, and every one of those photos and every one of those UFC matches and every one of those professional matches, my hair was colored. I was gray then, but I simply knew psychology 101. If you were to walk into a cage or into a ring and you saw a gray-haired, gray mustachioed type person, are you going to be as intimidated? No. But if you keep it dark and dastardly, that's a whole different story. It's psychology. Yeah. I've been, again, being an athlete my entire life, especially doing one-on-one type of competitions, folk style, freestyle, judo, sambo, tough man contest. I mean, I think that's one thing that I forgot, that I was actually involved in a tough man contest early on in my career in 1992. Tough man used to be 3 1-minute rounds with 16-ounce gloves on. And you might have had some actual former boxers that were in there. And, it was, there was only 2 weight classes, 190 pounds and under, and then anything over. And I was in that category of anything over. I was probably weighing myself, somewhere around that, say between 240 and 260 pounds. But now I could be going up against 300 plus pound men. that are looking to swatch it this way and swatch it that way. If they knew how to shift that body weight into it, oh, they're going to crack some ribs on you. Let alone might just be knock you out in the process as well.
Yeah. Well,
so again, that was another thing I just forgot to just announce for the conversation was, I was involved in the Tough Man contest, and that's over the course of 2 days. On a Friday night, you do one match, and then on Saturday you come back and you finish out who is ever left, whoever is brave enough to show back up by day number 2. And I mean, the funny part about all that, Lamar, is I was never involved in a fight in my entire life until that night. I didn't even know how to hold my gloves. I probably looked like John L. Sullivan the way I was holding my hands up, stuff like that. People were laughing at me because these other guys, they all were wearing boxing trunks and tank tops, and and then some were wearing boxing shoes, or I wore a pair of amateur wrestling shoes because they sort of look like boxing shoes, and I wore an amateur wrestling singlet. So again, I with dark hair, stuff like that on, dark mustache, I look like, and not knowing how to hold my hands, I look like something out of the old time magazine from those John L. Sullivan days.
Yeah. So, well, when we was announcing you coming on the show, you was on the billboards with that black hair and black mustache.
Yeah.
And that's why we put you up. So, I mean,
well, that's where more and more I'm putting side-by-side photos when I put out there going, okay, this was the Dan Severn that you folks probably saw in that ring, in that cage, at whatever event. But in reality, this is the real Dan Severn because, again, as I talked about it, using that psychological factor of athletics and competition, people look upon you differently. And it is. I see how I'm treated differently with gray hair versus with the dark hair, because as I walk up, especially right now I'm still using using crutches and stuff like that. So I see a lot more people they'll be kind, they'll open up a door, something like that for me, especially younger people. They'll open up a door for me, and I just I'm always saying thank you very much, and so that they appreciate it. I don't think in our world today, Lamar, not enough people are saying thank yous, pleases, and thank yous. We live in a very selfish society.
Yeah, don't get me on that.
Well, Lamar, I think you and I would have a good old time on that because
I just don't get it. I could talk a long time about disrespect because I'm in business myself, in the recycling business too. And I deal with all people all over the world. We had a guy come over here and done a show with us from Pakistan today. It was a great show. He's talking about how the same kind of way, nobody has respect, nobody treats nobody, with respect anymore. To me, what you do is on you. But also, it's on you and God, between you and God, too. Will you treat your fellow man right? And,
I tend to remind people of the golden rule in life. I go, treat everybody else the same way you want to be treated. No better, no worse. So when some people are starting to be a little bit rude, stuff like that, I go, you need to take a little bit of time out there and think about what you're saying. I go, would you say that to your mother? Would you say that same thing to your father? I go, I don't think so. Even though they'll say, well, I'm not your mother, I'm not your father, or nothing like that as well. But I go, but there's a thing known as respect. I mean, that's for a classic where, the song Respect, sung by Aretha Franklin. Classic.
Yeah.
That's a classic song. I don't know why I thought it would just be something that if you want to have some fun there, throw a little clip up on this when you show this interview.
Yeah,
because again, she's been long gone, but it's one of those kind of songs that I would still ask, what is it, Alexa or Siri, whoever is the mechanical voice, I'll simply say play Aretha Franklin and the song Respect, and it'll be a classic. Everyone would be able to relate to it.
Yeah, and I love music. If you love music, I have thousands of albums I mean, thousands of them, different people.
You may have to explain what an album is to some of the young people if they're listening right now, because
Well,
they're used to they'll grab their cell phone and they'll just Google this, that, and the whole 9 yards. They don't know what a vinyl record is. They don't know what a 45 is versus a 33. So it's versus an 8-track versus a CD versus
I got 78s too, man. I got 78. I got VCRs, old tapes of VCRs, tapes. I mean, yeah, when you come on, take you on a tour, you won't believe the records I have. And
I'll bet they're all collector items at this point in time. So again, you can't find vinyl.
Well, this company, I bought 700,000 worth of movies, 780,000 movies from this company. And
did you buy out one of these?
Well, no, they were getting rid of this media group. They're down, I think they're in Texas, but anyway, they send me 5 trailer loads of CDs, all kinds of music.
Trailer loads?
Yeah.
I talking about tractor trailer loads?
Yeah, 53 foot. And I said, I couldn't sell them at all. They sent them to refinery scrap, shred them up, and, this company, VCR, DVDs, all kinds of stuff like that.
Let me ask you, if you don't mind me, ask you a question right now, because you say that you're involved in you said you're involved in
recycling.
Recycling. Okay, so do you actually run a dump where people bring stuff, or do you simply recycle only plastic type of things, or metal, plastic? They'll bring you specifically the metal things, or there'll be plastic things.
There's just all kinds of electronics, telecom. I'm doing a lot of the solar panels and the solar equipment right now, batteries, stuff like that. I want to get in touch with Elon Musk and talk about batteries, but batteries, I wouldn't suggest buying an electric car right now, and I wouldn't want to tell Elon Musk that, but I deal with the batteries.
I like Elon because, first off, he's a very intelligent man.
I like him too,
and he doesn't back down from people. I mean, it's when he purchased. I'm trying to think what the social media outlet that he ended up purchasing. Bought right out, and then he ended up firing all these people. It's like going, good for you.
Yeah. Well, Talkin Live is all about freedom of speech too.
Yes. Well, again, that's where it's in the Constitution, freedom of speech.
It's hanging on.
That's not what big pharmaceutical companies want you to do. That's not what Joe Biden wants you to be able to do. But then, I say Joe Biden, but Joe Biden is
sick.
He's the puppeteer that's going to take the fall. That's all he is. So again, I don't even want to discuss him because he's okay. Here, this is probably the nicest way I can put it on. The light switch is on, but nobody's home. There you go. There's the kindest way I could probably say it.
Well, people make fun of him falling all over the place, but I won't do that because I'm getting old. I'm afraid he'll come home.
But the reality is,
he don't need to be president. I mean, he ain't no president.
No.
I mean, to tell me I need to get.
But that would bring up one good point of there should be term limits for all positions in politics.
Yeah.
There should be there's term limits on the president. There should be term limits on Congress people.
Yeah.
On the Senate, on all of these people, because look at Nancy Pelosi. She was 81, 82?
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that, there comes a point in time when you are no longer relevant.
Yeah.
Because you've lived in a coddled society. You don't know what the average American person is doing. And that's when, again, I don't know. I'll just shut my mouth up right now. There's just a lot of things that are wrong when you look at, politicians.
Freedom of speech, talking live, freedom of speech. Go ahead and say what you feel. I mean, that's the way, I don't know who you remember, Max Cleland. He was a Democratic politician. He was in the war, he got his arms blowed off and his legs in Vietnam. He was a senator, a United States senator. Back then, I cussed him out just like anybody else. I mean, when I cussed back then, I called him every name in the book because I asked him a favor, and I'd been working with him. But I like Max. I disagreed with Max, but I liked him. I disagree with some people, but I liked him as a person, not as a position.
Yes.
Biden, he don't know what he's doing.
I get that. You can agree to disagree on different points. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I heard Kid Rock say on let's see, Hannity, he said, transsexuals, homosexual, you be what you want to, that's you, but don't take it to my kids and try to force it.
Well, again, there's been comedians all along, and the people, no one had to have a little march into Washington D.C. and we have to have this national 𝐒𝐴𝐚𝐥 again, I call it the alphabet soup group here right now because there's too many initials with it. I go, who cares? You got all these different holidays, this holiday, recognize this, recognize that. I'm thinking, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and people can be what they want to, but they have to answer to God. And the thing is about, that it is immoral, and that's what makes it. It's beyond, like the man told me today, the guy from Pakistan, it's immoral. It's not nature for a woman to be a man or vice versa, or for a woman to want a woman or a man want a man.
No, again, but you're talking about there's a big difference between the United States, but then Pakistan, how they would treat it, how Russia would treat it, how China would treat it. It all depends on where you're at. The one thing about the United States, we allow you to be, do, and or say just about anything that you want. We truly live in a land of freedom, but freedoms are being taken away slowly but surely because there's censorships in a lot of different ways. Just look at the media.
Yeah,
media
and
it shut you down.
Yeah, they got me. They got mad at me because I said something about the election and they cut the show out. They wouldn't let it, And I went back and told them that's my opinion. It was YouTube. I mean, I'd say this. I have the right to see what I want. Donald Trump has the right to see what he wants, where it's right or where it's wrong. I mean, that's an issue. If everybody else can say everything about this and that, and he can look at something, and say it wasn't right. It wasn't honest. That's their freedom. That's his freedom. Yeah. And if he gets up in front of a bunch of people and says we got to fight, we got to take up for ourselves, and the Democrats, I've heard them say that, and then what makes me sick to my stomach, and there's some good Democratic people, but what makes me sick is when they get up and they say nobody is above the law and they're trying to string somebody up for the same thing Biden did. That's what makes me mad.
Oh, that's called being two-faced.
Yeah. Well, I'm not two-faced, and I won't be because I will tell you what I think. Yeah. And What's he used to be?
Just what you said before there, you have these politicians that they're promising to do all these things, and then when they get elected, what do they follow through with?
Yeah, I'll tell you about a senator. I ain't gonna tell you who he was, but I called him. I had to get elected on my TV station. I helped him big time. And he helped me out for a while and all that. Well, I was going through a divorce, lost millions of dollars, and other stories I can tell you when I see you. But anyway, and I called him and he didn't call me back. And finally he answered the phone. I said, "Where you been? I've been calling you. I've been asking you to come by and see me. I need to ask you something." "Oh, I've been doing these things. I've been so busy." I said, "No, it ain't that way." I said, "USB, you wouldn't come around me because I lost all my money." And that was the truth. Well, he felt guilty, I guess, and he come to see me after that. But that was the main reason. It wasn't. But anyway,
yeah, no,
we're here. If we get into politics, we'll be here all night.
Yeah. No. Again, it's what do you want to talk about then now?
Well, I just wanted to. It's your show. I mean, it's what you got planned. If you think that.
Well, no, I mean, Lamar, I do so many different things. That's where it's like going, yeah, I'm on my social medias alone. I post probably 2-3 different positive things each day. I'll throw some sarcastic, political satire type things up there because it's kind of like going, I want people to think. There's a lot of people anymore, they don't think for themselves. They're just, they'll easily be swayed one way or the other. And I'm like going, no, my God, think for yourself. Think for what the right thing is for what you should be doing for you, for your family. And they're just, I like to hold people accountable for what they say.
Yeah, well, the people today, man, they act like they're all on drugs. they see that law. I mean, they see
Lamar. I'll interrupt you right there. On that point, big pharmaceutical companies would love to have everybody on drugs, okay, so that you're making your monthly contributions to their coffers. So,
yeah, well, they're doing a pretty good job of it.
And I don't say that as a joke either.
No, I know it. I was like to ask you. Zeke was talking about you coming down and doing a live show.
Yeah.
And kind of get out, maybe get you something set up.
I simply know that just by doing this program right here, right now, and talking about letting people know that I do stuff with law enforcement. I have a certified post-certified. Post just stands for police officer standardized training. I have a post-certified ground combatives program for law enforcement. I also have one for corrections. They just wear different kinds of uniforms for each type of duty. But then I do stuff with, again, just with young people of amateur wrestling. But then I do stuff with professional wrestling. And then there's submission grappling, gi work, non-gi work that I do there as well. But then there's mixed martial arts. So again, there's a plethora of things that I can do. But then also there's a lot of people, they just want to watch a couple of different of your matches and then just do a Q&A session with you as well. Or go to a
the police department. The police department here at mine, they're pretty nice people. The sheriff's department, they might be interested in something like that.
As I stayed out there live. I mean, if someone that's watching this when the show airs, if they want to contact me directly, they can contact me at my email address, dan@dansevern.com. And they can contact me directly, or then if between you and Zach, if you got some other types of people that to speak to, if you guys need to get me on the horn to speak with them a little bit, I've got no problem getting on the horn there as well. Set up a quick little conference call so they can or Zoom call, and they can chat there with me, and I can tell them all the types of stuff that I will go over. The sad part about law enforcement corrections is how physically fit are the individuals going to be that show up. Because it's sad when me at 65, I'm in way more physical fitness shape than what they are, and they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So it's but it kind of boils down to what we were saying at an early part of the show there, that you get one life to live, and I want to live it to the hilt, and I wanted to enjoy it. So again, I got my little setback there, having my surgery and getting hip replacement. But as I said, physical therapy, stuff like that, all going fantastic, moving right along here. So I'll be right back at it in no time at all.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure you will.
First major surgery I've had cartilage removal back in the mid 70s. You know, for both knees, I had to have some bone chips, bone spurs, a little bit of some cartilage come loose. So they had to go in.
In your knee. And your knee, right?
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm good to go still. You know, and all that. These were all just little.
I got that problem now. My engineer, he just had his worked on, and he had that chip in his knee too. So
sometimes it just causes some either pain, discomfort, or it might lock up. You know, if it's floating around, it might actually lock up in behind the kneecap or something like that. So I had times where my leg will lock up, and I go, well, I gotta get this fixed. I can't walk around and all of a sudden get locked up like that.
Yeah.
So
okay, I guess we'll call it a show, and if you got, and he will put your email on when he
screen.
Yeah, he'll do some edits and put your email on there. And
like I said, again, looking for just martial arts schools that, especially if they have padded floors and padded walls, because the more, as I tell people, the more toys that they have to play with, the better the seminar I can teach for them.
That's what I was looking for. I mean, there's a little small place down here. It's a pretty good guy, I think, but I think you'd want a bigger, good size studio.
Well, even then, I mean, you could always hold one at one location, and then towards a couple different martial arts schools could work together to where maybe I do one grappling type of seminar over here. I'll do everything all on your feet at one location. How to close the distance, how to get into takedowns, clinches, and throws, how to prevent takedown, clinches, throws. Then do seminar number 2 at a different location where nothing's in a stand-up position. Everything's being done on the mat, to where now you're working inside the guard, the mount. Someone's mounted on top of you. All these various bad positions that you have to work from, and showing them what they can do in different positions. So I always tell people that I have a very creative mind, and that's where I said you have to look at the fact that there's only 4 men in the world that have over 100 cage fights. I'm one of the 4.
Yeah.
3 with over 100 victories. I'm one of the 3. And the fact that I faced the other 3, defeated the other 3, and a close one to my age is 12 years, my junior. That speaks volumes, and then not to see damage, and you could see the clarity of my speech and stuff like that. So I tell people I didn't want to get hit in the head because, well, first off, it hurts.
Yeah.
and I didn't want to be all disfigured when my career came to an end. And my skill set was not this. It was getting into clinches, takedowns, and then I would work my magic of, submission holds, locks, but then you could still strike them even when you got them clinched or takedown or jammed up against the cage. Well, you could still throw knee strikes and uppercuts and all kinds of stuff. So, like I said, if anyone watches this and simply just Googles my name, Dan Severn MMA, or Dan Severn Professional Wrestling, or Dan Severn Amateur Wrestling, you'll see all kinds of cool things that will pop up. Sounds good. Well, Lamar, I appreciate your time there this evening, and have a great rest of your evening now. Okay?
Same to you.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for joining us today. To watch this show again, be sure to visit TalkinLive.com. We now have Roku and Amazon Fire TV channels for you to watch from your home TV. Or find more of our recent shows on most any of your favorite social media platforms. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Good night, world. We will be talking live with you next time.